He basically says here, wanted to take a day to process all the experiences over the last 4 years, prep after prep, not taking any time off to actually grow. A lot of you have asked why I've never taken time off. Number one reason, sponsors. What's up guys, Derek from PlateSmart8s.com. Today we're going to be talking about Patrick Moore. This is one of the most hyped bodybuilders in the open division. He has ridiculous potential, and he's one of those guys that's sort of, I don't know, like maybe not a Cedric McMillan, or I don't know, maybe he does sort of fall in line with that example where it's an individual who otherwise is seen as like, you know, the future, or somebody who could otherwise have Olympia winning potential if they either, you know, gain more size or came dialed in. You know, obviously dependent on the individual. This is different for each individual, but for Patrick, he was always seen as a guy who could, you know, go all the way and be, you know, next up. And so far, he has, you know, made it to the Olympia. He's placed well before, but seemingly in the past few years, he has kind of regressed, at least most recently. He had his showing at the recent pro show where he barely cracked top 10, and it has a lot of people kind of calling into question, you know, where this guy's at, you know, in terms of, does he still have the potential? Is there still, you know, a run in there that can even get him to where they otherwise predicted him to be? And, you know, sometimes these bodybuilders, they, you know, some of them take it on the chin when they lose, and some of them come to social media to post about why they lost and have a big, like, long drawn out excuse explaining it. You know, a similar situation, James Hollingshead had a disappointing showing at the Olympia recently, at least, you know, far less than what he predicted he was going to do and what he kind of like hyped himself up as. And he came to social media to basically elaborate on why it happened and why it wouldn't have happened if he was, you know, if everything went according to plan, essentially, and didn't get fucked up. And that kind of stuff, like whether it's true or not, I guess it kind of just like rubs people the wrong way, because some people do just see it as a cop-out at the end of the day. So Patrick Moore is the most recent top pro to kind of do one of these posts. So he says, and that is a wrap for this season. Wanted to take a day to process all the experiences over the last 4 years, prep after prep, not taking any time off to actually grow. A lot of you have asked why I have never taken time off. And the number one reason, ... Sponsors. As an athlete, you have an obligation to represent them to the best of your ability. And that means competing, even if the improvements are minimal between contests. For me, the time is now. I don't have a place on stage until 2023, and that may even be in question. So almost implying that he may even be retiring. For now, taking a step back and evaluating everything personally and professionally is best. All of you have been absolutely amazing, and it has been an honor to perform for you guys and motivate you all. I'll be back to pumping out plenty of off-season content for you guys next week. Thank you guys for all the support. Let's see what hashtag the future holds. Praying emoji flex. So a lot of, let's see, some of the comments are just very supportive. Some are downsides and move to classic. I get the vibe he gets sick of and may be offended by the classic physique comments. He shouldn't. It's clearly becoming more popular in the bodybuilding class. And quite frankly, at his age, what type of mass is he going to gain at this point? And even if he could, should he? He'd do very well at classic. He should embrace that compliment. What part of impossible don't you or anyone else understand? The cutoff is 207 pounds. Damn, do the math. Thought you were taller. Also a compliment. 90% of bodybuilding fans know absolutely nothing about bodybuilding. They just be talking for no reason. LOL, I wish. Man, I'd try for another sport. Laugh my ass off. True, everyone loves to hear themselves talk these days. So the show he just competed at that he had the disappointing finish was the Legion Sports Festival. And this is, you know, the main coverage, of course, by Nick Strength and Power, hitting us with the pre-judging footage and being on point with timing in terms of getting it out right as it's happening. So here we have in the mix at the top, we had Regan, Clarita, and Sergio, which, you know, is surprising given that some of these other guys that were otherwise like top phenom athletes like Cedric as well as Patrick are just not even in the mix here. And you have, you know, relatively obscure, unknown guys like rounding out the top 10, at least, you know, like social media popularity wise, in terms of prevalence in their previous, you know, competition placements and whatnot. A lot of these guys that placed in the top 10, frankly, are guys you probably, you know, most of us who don't follow like super stringently probably have not even heard of before. So a lot of these guys that are edging out otherwise like phenom fucking, highest potential guys, it sort of calls into question either like, why aren't they nailing it? Why aren't they improving show to show? Why aren't they, coming in totally dialed in, given that this is literally what they're paid to do? And I don't know what happened with Cedric. I don't know if he was so, off the mark and so disappointed that he didn't show up at the night show or at the finals, or if he actually is, having some sort of health complication, but hopefully it is, like, I don't know, you wouldn't hope for fucking either scenario, but hopefully he's fine. There's nothing problematic going on with his health or anything. But rounding out the top three, again, we had Regan, Clarita, and Sergio, and Patrick was way out of the fucking mix. So blaming it on sponsors, that's what we're going to be talking about today. He basically says here, wanted to take a day to process all the experiences over the last 4 years, prep after prep, not taking any time off to actually grow. A lot of you have asked why I've never taken time off. Number one reason, sponsors. As an athlete, you have an obligation to represent them to the best of your ability, and that means competing, even if improvements are minimal. So after that, he says he's going to not be on stage until 2023 and actually take an off season, or just not even go on stage again, yet he is still sponsored. But he's basically blaming his lack of, high placement on the fact that he has not had the ability to take an off season, and he's always prepping, and he puts it on the sponsors, and basically like, it's sort of like deferring the blame to them whilst trying to be like subtle about it at the same time. You have an obligation to represent them to the best of your ability. No, representing them to the best of your ability is generating fucking revenue. That's why they sponsor you, and you being on the team is a revenue driving marketing tool to do that. So you take a step back and you look at that and you say, are you doing that as effectively as possible? And does that entail competing perpetually around the fucking clock 24/7 every single year without taking an off season? Well, in the age of social media, I do not really see this to be relevant at fucking all, to be honest. And this is coming at it from the perspective of, I'm the owner of Gorilla Mind. We have a lot of athletes who, like, to be completely transparent, are outperforming in a lot of metrics, from engagement, revenue, acquisition, all of this shit, like outperforming like high top tier, open bodybuilders. And that's largely because a lot of social media drives down to personality, engagement, content, relatability, humor, information you're putting out. It's not just about having a sick physique and showing up on stage anymore like it used to be back in the day when you could otherwise, just be a silent fucking sick bodybuilder with amazing genetics and show up to cover shoots and shows and blow people out of the water and just, make a sick living. Nowadays, a lot more goes into it. And there are a lot of guys who have amazing, insane physiques who just like don't earn shit because they are not seen as, interesting to follow, relatable. They have no fucking information whatsoever. They don't document very frequently. Instead, they just, post updates of their physique on Instagram like once every few days and just expect you to, pay them a fuck ton of money for showing up on stage and, representing your company when they don't even care about the products you sell. They don't understand how they work. They don't market them effectively. They don't do anything that otherwise. I'm not saying he does that, by the way. I'm just saying examples of there are a lot of lazy bodybuilders out there or individuals, and this is notable as well, who otherwise allocate so much of their mental energy to competing that they no longer have the energy or drive to do anything from an entrepreneurial standpoint and otherwise underperform severely for the companies that they represent. So for me, I was kind of interested. I'm like, okay, this guy's sponsored by Yamamoto, which on the surface appears to be a company that definitely skews in favor of sponsoring like actual like high tier Olympia caliber open bodybuilders. Like we have Rolly over here. We have the men's physique champ over here. Obviously not open, but like a fucking top tier Olympian. We have, let's see, a bunch of other, cranked motherfuckers who actually compete. To be honest, like I don't know a lot of these names, but a lot, you can tell they skew very, very like athlete dominant in terms of individuals they want representing their brand. But ultimately at the end of the day, do these individuals like really move the needle with the current era of social media? Like some of them do, some of them are hybrids, but some of them frankly, just like you can tell they're just on the company's roster for the sake of fucking being there to make money, not because they actually give a shit, not because they believe in the products, not because they use the products even, not because they understand how anything works, not because they even post on social media, just because they're a bodybuilder and that's the thing you do is you get sponsored by a supplement company and you go show up on stage and you try and win. And their passion otherwise lies in bodybuilding, or they just think that's the path forward because their brain is so retro fucking focused in what people used to be doing 15 years ago to make a living. So again, looking at some of his sponsors, like he is with Yamamoto as of March 9th of 2020. It doesn't look like he's company hopped like very, very frequently, which is good because a lot of individuals, frankly, I think, kill their credibility when they just jump company to company and otherwise make it seem like less and less like they actually believe in what the company is doing. Because the more and more you dilute your recommendations, the worse and worse the recommendations you have are going to like hold weight. Like no individual believes what you're recommending is legit, or you actually believe in the products whatsoever if you're company hopping like year to year every time your contract expires to go with another company that just offers you a better salary. So he's with Yamamoto as of March 9th, 2020. And then before that, it appears he was with Labrada Nutrition. Like if you scroll all the way down to even the beginning of his Instagram, he was with Labrada for a while, which is, if you don't know, Lee Labrada, a obviously legendary bodybuilder in his own right. And his son is actually somebody who is improving year to year and starting to make a big fucking splash in the open bodybuilding scene. And he just placed, I believe it was 4th in the Olympia. And that was a bit of a controversial placement over Nick Walker. Some people thought Nick had edged him out in that regard, but it's another topic for another time, obviously. But he has since been, he's with Labrada for a while, and then he ended up switching to Yamamoto. And he basically says in his post, couldn't be happier. Huge thank you to Yamamoto. Labrada will always be in my heart. I can't thank Lee enough for blessing this chapter in my life. Definitely looking forward to this new partnership. Blah blah blah. So he's part of Yamamoto. So I'm like looking through their Instagrams to be like ultimately as a company owner, do I really give a shit if my athletes / ambassadors, like whatever you want to call, your, the guys who are on your team and represent your company, like, does it really matter to me if they compete? No, like, to be honest, I literally do not give a flying fuck, like, to be honest, in most aspects, I would prefer them not to, because when they're prepping, it saps so much of their mental energy that they end up not actually posting real content that drives marketing material and otherwise gets them, like, interacts with their audience, Like, they go into prep, and some of them are meticulous about documenting their progress. And again, like, my athletes are fucking great, that's, like, I've built a very, very awesome team, and I'm very, very grateful for the team we have surrounding our company. But I see this very prominently with other companies' athletes, is athletes go into prep and then they have like they aren't resourceful enough to even hire an editor or, have somebody take video of their fucking, prep and preparing meals or, going to the gym or anything. And when it comes to actually consistently getting out content, they're very, very lax about it. So when I see Patrick Moore basically saying the reason he hasn't had an offseason is because of sponsors, it's like I understand like life gets in the way, there's shit you have to deal with, that some of these bodybuilders, this isn't their full-time gig, but like if you're being paid by a company to represent them and drive them a certain amount of sales and present, I'll bet like the majority of his allocated income from these companies is largely based on a salary retainer for his, big name in the industry rather than his ability to actually drive sales. Because it's not like I'll be honest, how much are you actually engaging? Like how much engagement do you actually have at the end of the day? Your link in the fucking bio of your Instagram is linking to a video from February. So like, are you really doing your company like, the justice of what they're paying you? Like at the end of the day, if you're posting a handful of times every like 6 months, and then you post like a couple times a month, and then you basically fall off the bandwagon for another 2 years, and then you get back on the bandwagon again, then you post a few more times, and then you fall off again for a couple of years, of course at that point, the only like utility you have to a company is if you're winning shows and you have some massive name from a competitive standpoint to have some sort of presence that they can use as marketing material. Like, okay, we have fucking Patrick Moore on our team and he like kills at pro shows and he's sick. That's your value at that point. However, it does not need to be like based on that. Predicating your value based on if you're competing is like such a nonsensical excuse in my opinion, because no company in their right mind nowadays, in my opinion, values that as their primary metric of success. They want athletes who are otherwise getting engagement with their following. They are actually getting marketing material out there. They're actually, getting comments, likes, followers, and they're actually like care about building their audience up, which translates into the ability to market and inform people about the products too. Like, how are you going to inform anyone about how any of these products work or the utility of them when you're just stepping on stage too? Like, there's no information being presented. The conversion rate of a guy who's stepping on stage and winning shows is like impossible to track. So you're just throwing an arbitrary salary at a guy whose otherwise essentially entire value is dictated upon him progressing in shows. So like, I'm wondering why he is like putting it on the sponsors. Like, no, I would imagine they would rather you. I can't imagine, maybe it is the company. So maybe they're just, very, very short-sighted or very, very not progressive in their thinking, or maybe that's just what they value, is having high quality athletes on their roster just to throw in a fucking, banner when they go to an expo or something. But like, I would imagine Labrada Nutrition is not, telling their guys, you have to compete this many times or else we're gonna, kick you off the fucking team. Like, I imagine if you were cranking on social media and actually getting information out there about why you would want to take this, ready to drink fucking lean body shake, why where it's implemented in your diet, like why it has utility in your regimen, getting information out about, pre-workout, like why you use it, what kind of utility it may have, why building your following that otherwise converts to individuals who actually resonate with the brand that you're representing and want to buy their products from, a either science-backed perspective or a, personal, just wanting to support you perspective because you're actually posting content that they actually want to get behind. That kind of thing. No company is going to reprimand you for fucking getting out effective marketing material and posting more than one time in a matter of like fucking 6 months, So to say my value is dictated upon competing and it's the sponsor's fault that I haven't had time to fix this and like get going and like, build the size I need. Like, I think that's a bit of a, deferring a little bit. Like, I would highly doubt. Maybe Yamamoto's different, maybe Labrada's different, but I can't imagine if you asked Lee Labrada, hey dude, like, the years you had Patrick Moore on, did he need to compete this many times or else you would have kicked him off the team? Or would you have rather seen him posting a couple times a week, actually showing, progress and day-to-day life stuff, providing information, building up his audience, which then brings way more fucking traffic and sales to you. And frankly, it's just like a better like use of time than otherwise just like hoping he's going to crack the top 5 at the Olympia every year. Like, to me, I just don't see the argument there. And to me, it just seems like a bit of a cop-out. And like, it's one thing to say you haven't been able to have an off season, and like, if you could have, maybe things would have been different. But to say literally, sponsors, you have to fucking represent them to the best of your ability. And that means competing as many fucking times as possible, even if you're not going to make improvements. Like, Lee Labrada is not going to be like, don't fucking post on social media. Instead, go compete 8 times a year or whatever the fuck he's doing and not make any improvements whatsoever to step on stage at the Olympia and do the same, if not worse, which ultimately, if your value is dictated upon placements at shows anyways, like, are you just, your bonuses at the shows or otherwise like given to the sponsors or something? Like, I'm not really sure where the logic is in this whatsoever. Like, it seems like a very short-sighted way for a company to be building their following, and like build up a customer base, is telling all their athletes, you guys got to compete as many fucking times as possible or else we're dropping you. Like, I would rather be like, you're posting this many times or else we're dropping you. That would be a more logical fucking metric in my opinion. So like, especially when you have open guys who otherwise are like, it's so mentally taxing to prepare for stuff too. So if he is competing frequently, like, I'm not surprised that maybe he's posting once every fucking handful of months, because it's extremely draining to be a guy who's eating this much food, training this hard, training this frequently, doing all the shit and the, damage and stress it imposes upon your body, trying to tell a guy to like get his shit together and, post very frequently. You may otherwise not be motivated to do it or otherwise have the mental capacity to even like get the ball rolling in doing it if you think that everything is dictated upon you just stepping on stage and doing better. But again, like, the disparity is just like so odd, because it's not like, if you're not posting and you're just competing, like, at that point it's I don't know, would you not have a conversation with your sponsors at that point? And then I guess it would be on them to say, we want you to compete fucking 100 times or else we're going to drop you. But then it's like, why are you even with the sponsor at that point? Like the ROI on your time, you'd make more money like doing your own thing and fucking posting frequently than you would be getting an arbitrary salary to work for a sponsor that's going to hinder your ability to make progress and ultimately sap your mental capacity so severely that you otherwise have no mental energy to allocate into any endeavors that progress you as an athlete or an entrepreneur. You can't put out any fucking content because you're so slammed trying to prepare for shows, and you can't progress your physique because you're so slammed preparing for shows that you don't even want to do, that you're just doing because Lee Labrada told you had to, or fucking Yamamoto Nutrition told you had to compete this many times. Like, just seems weird to me, dude. Seems weird. It seems like unlikely that these companies would otherwise be using that as their metric of this is what, like, why we're going to pay you this salary, but you have to do this specifically. We don't care how much sales you generate. We just care that you step on stage this many times, even if you make no improvements. Like he mentioned here back in 2019, 15-pound difference between these two photos, left 2019 Olympia and the right was taken today. I'm a big believer that you don't have to gain a crazy amount of weight to make lean muscular gains. Some people gain 40 to 50 pounds in off season only to gain 3 to 5 pounds in stage weight. I've tried bulking, but have never done more than 20 pounds outside of competition weight. This makes getting in shape for a contest relatively easier. The reason for this post is to show that you can gain muscle and stay relatively close to competition shape. Soon I will post a video on my YouTube channel about my diet, how it changes for off season while in prep. I'll be doing some arm training tonight that will be up this week. So let's see, did that end up coming up? I don't know. I have no idea if it ended up coming up. But ultimately, it sounds like at this time, he was able to make progress. And this was in the midst of his time, apparently, where his sponsors were preventing him from making progress. But I don't know, man. Like, is it just a cop-out? Is this a legitimate excuse? Like, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, from a business owner perspective, to me, I was just like, huh? Like, what am I even fucking reading, dude? So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments help the algorithm. They're much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog. MorePlatesMoreDates.com. Follow my Instagram at MorePlatesMoreDates, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic, all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home. It is not just a TRT clinic, despite the fact that I literally just call it, that in short words to basically put it in the link without having a big drawn out explanation of what it is. At the end of the day, it is a preventative medicine practice that represents the same quality of information I pride myself in trying to put out on this channel on a regular basis. And we have high quality doctors in our camp who are otherwise qualified to interpret your biomarkers and what kind of diagnostics you should be getting to begin with, attenuate any kind of damage that may otherwise be exposed to you as a bodybuilder, or if you're not a hardcore bodybuilder, just a natural who is trying to optimize your performance and or quality of life and see if you have any aberrations in your biomarkers or any metrics of concern that may otherwise warrant addressing to optimize health, performance, vitality, longevity, etc. We do it all. We're turnkey. It's not just about hormone replacement therapy either. We're not going to be throwing you on a cookie cutter script of TRT, HCG, and anastrozole like other clinics are. We are actually going to assess your situation individually, and if it can be corrected via lifestyle intervention, natural dietary manipulation, sleep hygiene practices, etc., that is step one, not just haphazardly throwing you on pharmacology. So if you want a high quality doctor in your camp who actually understands how to be mindful of your health and work with you and be non-judgmental, as well as be in your camp to actually see your success and be, invested in the outcome, check us out. It cannot be overstated enough the importance of this, in my opinion. It's something I wish I had access to years ago, and it's why I have so much pride in bringing this kind of a service to the industry. And as well, Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode pre-workout formulas, designed myself from scratch, my recommended diet model for gaining muscle and sports performance whilst being mindful of micronutrient intake, thyroid health, electrolyte balance, etc. This is something that often goes completely neglected by cookie cutter influencer diets on Instagram that otherwise basically just tell you how to do if it fits your macros and hit your protein because they don't really know what they're talking about. So if you want a high quality diet model that will not only help you gain muscle, but also be as healthy as possible, check it out. As well as my clothing company that sponsors me and anything else I'm associated with, it is all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.